Welcome back to another episode of Buckle Up with Simon and Brian, an Ultrarunning Conversation. How are you doing tonight, Simon?
I'm doing great with my new studio. How are your knees, Brian?
My knees are well, but they're not as good looking as that studio in your background. Man, you've really upped that game back there.
There's not enough room for my belt buckle, so that's like a problem that I have and need to resolve at some point. Half of them are just still in my bedroom, so I'll figure out something.
You can't push the camera five more feet back and like get the wide lens on. No, that won't work.
Still not enough. Still not enough.
Oh my gosh. What are you at? 34, 35 buckles? Or
36.
3600.
Yep.
Jeez. Full 3 years then you've been at this.
Yeah, I mean, more coming up very soon, including some very exciting racing. I mean, the big one, right, Brian? We're going to be racing Cocodona, which I think brings us to the guest we had today, Hector Rodriguez.
Yeah, Hector is a cool cat. He is San Diego based, and he is just super cool. He is trying to change the community through the Wolfpack. He has a lot of experience in just a few years in the ultra world. He has done the 240 in Moab the same year that I did it in 2020 edition. And then the following year in 21, he did the whole Triple Crown of 200s. And then in our episode, he talks about Cocodona and coming back for redemption, which we'll see him in a few weeks there.
Yeah, I think it was a great chat with Hector. I didn't know Hector before, so it was great meeting him. I really appreciate it, especially the first portion of our conversation where he explains what brought him to ultra running, his inspiration, how that has helped him grow and be more disciplined, yes, through running, but also through the different phases of his life and different aspects such as his family, his partner, and also his businesses.
Yeah, it's such a small community. I was on vacation a little more than a year ago in San Diego with my family and another family. I hit up Hector. He came down just a few minutes away from where he lived at the time and swooped me up, took me out to Torrey Pines, showed me a bunch of the local trails, and gave me some information for the next day's run for myself. And it was great to connect with him, especially when you're out of town, you're on vacation, to really kind of connect with somebody that you know through the ultra world. So
next time you're in San Diego, Brian, you go and run with me, though.
Next time I'm in San Diego, I'll go run with you. Next time I'm in Las Vegas, I'm going to go run with Hector because he spends a lot more of his time in Las Vegas now, he was saying. Well, thanks so much for tuning in, guys. We appreciate you listening. We'd love for you to share, like, and subscribe wherever you listen. Without further ado, here is Hector Rodriguez with the Wolfpack. Welcome to the show, Hector. How are you doing today?
Good. How are you?
I'm well. How's the weather in Las Vegas?
The weather is, I just got in Utah, it was snowing. Just got here, and it was pretty nice, actually. Yeah.
Oh, that's right. Just before we started recording, Hector was telling me that he was just visiting some family in Steamboat Springs, Colorado. So I bet that Vegas air feels pretty good right about now from a couple days in the cold weather, right?
Yeah, it's definitely a lot warmer and not driving through any snow here. So far, so good. Even though people might be surprised to know that there is snow often, not often, but at times here in Vegas. So, like, you could see the mountains full of snow here, but didn't have to drive through it today, so that was pretty cool.
Well, cool. I want to dive into it with you, Hector. I wanted to just kind of start at the basics and the bare bones, like how you got into running, how you got into fitness, and where did that all come from?
I after like high school, just kind of casually did half marathons, and then at some point it was half Ironmans, and I did an Ironman, and so I would just kind of casually do these just type of challenges, just kind of more for fun and stay in shape, and just did it sporadically. I would say in I think it was December 2019 is when I came across David Goggins and podcast with Joe Rogan and the Can't Hurt Me book. And that kind of opened my eyes to like seeing what can I do when I really want to push, that mental fortitude or that mental strength. How far can I go when I start really testing my limits? And what I think he did a great job for me is like kind of two things. One being just like really kind of making you go like the ultra runner or that person pushing themselves, that endurance athlete, like the person that is like going to war mentally, physically out in whatever challenge they're doing. Like that's the hard dude, or that's the tough person, male or female or whatever. And so it really opened my eyes, like that's really cool versus maybe some of the other things, like maybe going out to a bar or nightclub. Like to me, that's not as cool. What was cool was waking up at 4 or 5 in the morning and hitting the trails. And then the second piece, I think he really helped me understand through some of his podcasts and books and stuff like that, would be just how it applies to life, like training for life and that kind of whole mentality, how once you start really testing your limits and you get disciplined and you get consistent and you're kind of getting after it, that you realize how much you are leaving on the table in a lot of other areas in life, including business or parenting or my relationships, all of that. So it really helped me see that. And then once I basically, initially, obviously I was inspired and just said, okay, let me go out, let me start hitting 10 miles a day, let me start, signing up for these challenges. And then I just started getting blown away with what I was able to do. So then I just kept pushing it. And so it's got me in the mess I'm in today.
Well, welcome to the mess. Simon and I both have done Ironman. Simon and I have both done Ironman, and I don't know if any Ironman is just a casual Ironman.
No, that one was not casual. That was super tough. Everything else.
Honestly, I was pretty casual about my Ironman experience. I was biking and running and said, hey, swimming doesn't look so hard. So I just went and did it. I was like, all right, I've done it. Like, Brian, I really think it's possible to be casual about it. I was twice and done. And I did mine like basically right after 100 miles, so I was all banged up from it.
Oh wow!
So yeah, that's interesting. So Goggin got you into ultra running. That's really interesting and inspiring. I think you have a good point. A lot of people focus on the kind of the fitness or sports part of that, but there's really a connection between how you deal with ultra running and how you deal with your life, and both how you approach ultra running can be helpful in your life, and how you approach your life can be helpful into running. I'm curious, do you see how you've changed outside of running, but like in your normal life, or do you think that's a discipline that you already had and you carried forward into sports?
The discipline piece itself, like did I always have that discipline? I would say no, not to. Like I kind of started off, I was just casually like in and out, and now it's like I feel super strange and almost like maybe jittery if I don't get a workout in every single day, almost, whether it's walking or running some miles or cycling or whatever, like I have to do some kind of activity. And so now I would say it's just very much so ingrained in me. And I absolutely don't think I had the discipline that I do now. And now I just can't see it ever like changing. I can't ever see myself, like obviously I take days off, but not like, I could never see myself taking a long period off, if that makes sense. Like I constantly every week have to be staying active for sure.
So I know that you have a lot of business deals going on, not deals, but you have a lot of business opportunities that you got your a bunch of irons in the fire with.
Yeah.
Did that drive? So that drive, I think Simon's question is maybe more like, did you have that drive already, or did Goggins kind of open up your concept and ultra running open up your concepts to what's possible, and now it's carried over to other aspects of your life, or was that drive already there and you just applied it to ultra running?
So my drive was, I think I had like a baseline, and like I could use the example that I worked in a corporate job from 17 and a half till now. And in that corporate job, in the 2 jobs I've had, one was with UPS, the other was with Amazon, who I currently am employed by. I called in sick 1 time, and I've never been late. And so I think when I reflect on that alone, I think that's kind of insane probably to a lot of people. But it was just maybe like a work ethic that I saw from my mom, who worked in the banking industry, and I'd seen her work long days and never call in sick. And so I think, like, to some degree, some of that was instilled in me, probably from her. I think what Goggins helped me realize is that, like, I thought, okay, I'm doing a full-time job. I'm training an hour or 2 a day or whatever, and family stuff, but, like, I could even go beyond that. And what else can I do? And I thought maybe I was already at my cap. And then I realized, okay, can I do Amazon? Can I, do the family stuff? Can I get my training in? And can I start doing entrepreneurial things, start investing, start doing real estate, and start doing all these things? And so where it applies back to Goggins is, like, it almost like unlocked something to go, wow, I remember this 24-hour race I was in Julian, California, right outside of San Diego. And I remember telling a buddy who was going to come out to pace me in the night. And he was like, hey, how are you doing? And I'm like, I'm mile 32. And this was the first time I ever done anything gnarly. I'm like, my knee is, like, beat up. I'm tired. Like, I'm not sure. And then after I said that, I said, you know what? Like, no matter what, I'm going to be out here and I'm going to keep going. And I ended up getting, it was like 88 or 90 miles. It was like my first top 5 finish. And, basically I did 50, 60 more miles than I ever thought. I thought I was done at mile 32. So then that started going in my head, and then later just doing more gnarly things like running 146 miles on a treadmill, and then, Moab 240 and all these things. And I just started going, wow, like, I can really do some gnarly things when I go all in the training and the obsession and just the discipline, the consistency and all that. So then I started going, well, going back to that training for life, like, how can I do this in these other areas? And I feel I've done well. I obviously could do better, but I'm definitely juggling, I think, a pretty hefty schedule and routine, but I absolutely love it.
Yeah, I mean, a lot of it comes down to prioritization. I think it's difficult to be obsessed about, doing so much in running and ultra running and working 80 hours and having kids. Like, at some point you need to decide what is the most important. And I think for me, what Goggin has kind of narrowed down is, like, okay, identify what you care about and go all in with a no excuse mentality. You go head first. And I think he mentions it in his book, like, be whatever you do, be good at it. So he mentioned, of course, a lot about running, but it's like, hey, like, you're starting a podcast, like, don't half-ass it, like, just go all in. That whatever is worth doing, like, is worth doing well. And this mentality of just going balls to the walls is interesting. Did you read both of his book?
I've listened to most of the second, all of the first, and a ton of podcasts. But I'll also say another person that I don't probably get enough credit to that definitely inspired me a lot in a similar but different way is Jesse Itzler. And the reason I love Jesse Itzler is because he's constantly pushing himself in challenges. He's constantly giving back. He's a family man. He's a businessman. And so what I love, like, Goggins to me is very hardcore in, like, the training and getting the heck after it. Like, nobody is on that level, or very few people, But what I like striving in multiple buckets, giving back, business, family, running, endurance, and trying to be more well-rounded, but, like, almost extreme in a very well-rounded sense. And so I don't know, I like going after multiple buckets, and you're right, it is a prioritization, and sometimes I'm not perfect, where I'm probably giving up in some areas, but I do try my best to be successful in multiple areas across life beyond just the running.
Yeah, that's a great message, and I really like I like filling up multiple buckets. Our lives are busy. We have, family, work, and goals. And goals, whether they're business goals or athletic goals, and just kind of filling up all those buckets. That's a really great message.
Yeah, I mean, people often ask me, about trail running and ultra running, like, wow, like, how do you spend the full night without sleeping? It's like, dude, you did not see me in grad school. That is not the biggest issue I have. But yeah, I think, doing things.
See,
not
for me, it goes the other
motivation.
way.
Yeah.
It goes, how do you like travel from here to here? How do you spend a 12-hour day working, doing X things? Well, I'm like, this is better than the freaking 100+ hours I was in Moab 240, freezing in the heat, miserable, everything hurting. Like, it makes just like any, like, of the 9 to 5 kind of silly to me. Like, when I know, like, it changed what was hard for me once I really started pushing myself in endurance, and I'm like, okay, like, I'm sitting down for 8 hours, like, this is not
it really
the same.
put things in perspective, right? Like, you
Definitely.
know that you're pissed because, like, I don't know, coffee is not hot enough at work. It's like, hey, like, at least I'm not shitting blood right now. Like, it's like, it's not the best right
Sleeping
now.
on the
but it
rocks.
could definitely, yeah.
Yep.
Exactly. It's
Completely
like,
agree.
I'm tired, but at least I don't have to sleep by the trail right now. So it put things in perspective for sure.
Hey, well, I'll go back to Gaga's for just a quick second. I know Simon just put up a video on his own channel about the 4x4 by 48, and that's that's a pretty common, maybe not common, but it's a pretty hefty goal that a lot of people are striving to do these days. It's a little getting some mainstream traction.
Yeah.
That's a goal that he created, but you've kind of like taken that same concept and created your own self-imposed goals like this. I don't know how long you did it for, but I want you to tell us because I'm not quite sure. But I know you did like 10 miles a day for a really long time. Can you talk about that?
Yeah, I did 10 miles a day so what I did was I made a goal to average 10 miles a day. And I'm probably still there going into year 6 because some years I was probably like 11, 12 miles a day, like 4,400 miles in the year. So I did that to where I was consistently, so if I had, one day where I got 3 for some reason, then the next day I would shoot for 17, and then try to get back. But I was always trying to stay ahead of it. So it was just definitely a self-imposed goal. I felt like it was a secret sauce in a lot of ways because it gave me the discipline, it gave me the consistency. And I felt like, especially when you start going into the 200 milers, it got me a lot of time on feet, which I felt was very helpful for those type of events. And I also, the way I did it was whether I'm walking, I'm running, I'm hiking, just move and get to 10 miles a day. And I did that all the way until probably last Cocodona. And after that, I backed off, and that was because my feet felt like they were on fire on Cocodona. So then I was like, okay, let me start backing off the miles, and let me start doing these other training, let the feet heal, and then start ramping back up, which I've started to do.
Yeah, that's interesting. That's big volume for sure. That would be, I mean, if we go with average, so you're averaging 70 miles a week on a consistent basis, and therefore like
I was
3,600 mile a year at least. Yeah. No, that's definitely a lot. I'm curious, Brian, do you know how much you do yourself?
I'm a pretty low mileage kind of guy. I standardly do about 50. I think last week I hit 65. A couple weeks ago in my last block, the last week of my big block, I was at like 75. And I think at the end of this block, before going into Cocodona, I'll be about 85 miles for the week. I'm just not a big high mileage guy. Within reason, I mean, 85 miles is nothing to bat an eye at, quite honestly. But I do it.
85 is a lot.
Yeah, but I'll go like 55, 65, 75, 85 and ramp up. I won't just stay at 85.
Yeah, for me, what's impressive with that is the consistency. I think my average is probably around that, but if you look at my Strava, it's definitely like it's not consistent. I think last week was 60, but the week before was probably 4. So
yeah, but Simon, you're also
like performance.
You're a race at 100 a month, so you got
you got
100
that's why it's like
easy,
that, but...
not easy miles, but you haven't. For the Strava number, you have easily 100 at least once a month. So
Yeah, no, for sure.
Like I think for performance, it makes sense to kind of have like what you're saying, probably some low and then maybe like a long Saturday. For me, I just liked it because I like knowing that if I knock this out, then like the day is a win. And so like to me, I think I did it more for a mental aspect rather than a performance aspect, to go like, okay, the day's accomplished, I got this done, and just feeling good about that. Where I know it probably hurt performance and hurt me to where I got, myself jacked up in Cocodona because of the high volume. So that's why I started to back off and go, okay, like, let me let that go a little until I get healthy, and then we'll see if I can ramp that back up in a more maybe healthier way, I guess.
Yeah, but some miles is better than no miles. Like, I'm sure there's ways to optimize that Coach Brian could suggest to, with the same 70 miles, like split it differently. But so
Correct.
I'm curious, how did you manage to stay so consistent? Are you a morning runner? Is that like first thing you do?
I was very random. So if I had gaps in meetings, I might go run around the block or might go for a walk. I'll walk to the gym, hit a workout, walk back. Sometimes, like, if I'm in comfortable clothing, we go to the mall. Then I'll be like, all right, you guys go ahead and go back. I'll run back. So I just did a lot of things like that to just break up the miles all day long and stayed very active in that sense. So, and then obviously Saturday, like, I'll meet up with a friend or go by myself and then go get 10, 15, 20 miles or whatever. So it was just kind of sporadic, and sometimes morning, sometimes night. Whenever I was feeling good and work schedules gave me a gap, then I would take advantage of it.
yeah, totally. I can relate to that, Hector, for sure. I'm in the same boat. We talked off air that we have kids around the same age, and life's busy. I'm shuttling from school. I will drop off at school, and get 40 minutes in, and then show up to school 40 minutes early, get another 40 minutes in before I pick up from school. Then we're doing activities, and then maybe at night I'll jump on the treadmill for a few more miles, as an example. Same concepts, though. Whenever you can.
That's all in the past, right? So now you're preparing differently ahead of Cocodona this year?
So I've just started, not just started, probably like a month ago, just started ramping up my miles. I'm still kind of doing the same, but I'm just monitoring how I'm feeling and not just no matter what going to get the miles. So if I feel like back off, then I'll just lower the mileage. Like after this, I'm hoping to go get 2-3 hours, but on the treadmill tonight. So I'm just trying to listen to my body a little better than before. I would probably have maybe that old Goggins mentality of like what you might just see little clips of, where it's just like, if your knees are broken, keep going, like, so now I'm trying to just be a little smarter with it and continue going in that fashion versus just getting it no matter what.
Hector, you mixing anything else into your routine? Something new that you're introducing? Some different strength training or some sort of cross training or just something different? I know you actually ride a bicycle quite a bit too from social media, and I followed you for quite a bit. So I know you do like the bicycle and you do like the gym, but is there something different since last Cocodona that you've included this time around?
The thing that I'm having the most fun in, and if for some reason I stopped running, I'd probably go way more into it, is I've been boxing. And so after Coco, I went way more into boxing, and so now I've like backed off the boxing and went more running. But I've had so much fun doing that. So yeah, boxing, cycling, running. I do some strength training stuff, but I would say like the things I'm spending the most time on is boxing and running.
Yeah, and you think that maybe the boxing, like the softer plyometrics of just bouncing on your toes and the balls of your feet, you think that's been helpful for your feet and your injury?
It doesn't hurt the feet at all, which is fantastic. And like I'll do like 6 rounds and I'm just so dead after that. And that's, when you include the timers, like not even 30 minutes. And so I'll have people hold mitts, and we have a pretty cool routine. And it's just like soon as I think why maybe I like it, and I think it's also beneficial, is like I just told you guys, like I'll walk, I'll hike, I'll run and all of that kind of stuff. But when I'm in the gym, it's like heart rate. So where all the other stuff I'm doing, I try to keep my heart rate a little bit lower. and more, yeah, just more lower to go longer. Where when I box, my heart rate's like flying, and so I just kind of like playing off of the two between like low heart rate activity versus something like boxing where it's like you're huffing and puffing the whole time. So I think that's where I like it. In addition to it's fun, it's super fun.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. I mean, basically, it's your interval session instead of running interval. You're boxing, but it's high intensity.
Yeah.
Your heart is going through the roof, and we're working on our anaerobic capabilities. And I think we've discussed that a few times on the podcast. For something like an ultra marathon, you do need high intensity too in your workup. So
Yeah.
that's probably very
and stuff
beneficial.
like that.
And quite frankly, just changing it up sometimes, like if you only run, it can get boring, especially if you're running on a treadmill at some, like that's not what you do, but like someone who's mainly running on a treadmill, I mean, you got to introduce something else. Otherwise, it's just, pass, hard pass.
Hector, you showed up at the sport around 2019 or so, and I think we met in 2020 at Moab in the pandemic year, and we were both successful. We shared maybe a few miles on the course, and then we've kept in touch since. But I've always watching your social media stuff, and it's great, all the content you're putting out, the vibe and the feels. But I want to talk about the Wolfpack and like what is the Wolfpack? What's the mission behind it, and where are you trying to go with it? What's this Wolfpack? Tell me about that.
So during the pandemic, right when it started, specifically to San Diego, and I think a lot of other cities and states in the country could relate, things were shutting down, like the gyms and the trails and the beaches and the restaurants, like everything was shutting down. So basically, like a small group of us on Instagram, I don't remember who came up with the name, but we were like, okay, this is a scary time, scary situation. We don't know anything about COVID or the pandemic, like what is going on in the world. This is like crazy. Everything's shut down. Even with everything shutting down, we're not going to stop. We're going to continue to train. We're going to continue to get after it. We're going to continue to support each other. We're going to continue to show love. We're going to continue to like do what we can as a group to get through these tough times. And so it started off with like, hey, the gym is closed, but we're going to train in the garage. Like, let's all do a plank challenge and then tag a Wolfpack. And then it would go around and everybody would do their 1 minute plank. And then it turned into, okay, let's do your 10 burpees and then your plank. And then it just got like really crazy to where people were doing like headstand push-ups. And, you know, I was running 100 miles on a treadmill, and then other people were doing like Ironmans. And so it started during the pandemic and then just grew as I think people maybe got attracted to it. They liked the kind of get after it. Let's have fun with it. Let's still like train while, you know, we're all scared with what was going on in the world. And then as I kind of kept going with more gnarly challenges, I think it just grew and more people started challenging themselves to where now I don't know, I guess this was 2020, so now we're 4 years in, and there's still people that are just like all about like testing their limits, giving back, supporting each other, showing love, coming to crew me, I'm going to go crew people. And so now it's just this really cool community of people just doing their best at training, doing what's hard for them, and then supporting others who are doing their hard things. So it's just been a really cool thing to be a part of. There's no like goal or, you know, anything other than that. It's just let's test limits, let's give back, and let's support each other. So that's it to me.
It's great. I've been following along for a while. Is there a hub or a base to it? Is there like a website, or is it just a hashtag and just kind of throw things out there? How does the community connect other than like within Instagram itself?
I've had people like try to work with me to build a website. I've had like different business ideas pitched, different like clothing ideas, all things like that. And never felt good about it because one, like I'd rather give to the community than try to like make money off of the community, and I have just so much other stuff going on that I never wanted it like to turn it into a business or to make it something that's just like work. Like I genuinely love like me giving to it and it just being something like I truly enjoy and passionate and just like fun and like if I can show up to your race and support you, then great. If you can show up to mine, then great. So I don't have any structure to it. I think it's just maybe, I would say Instagram would be it. Just Instagram, people like constantly like reaching out to me. I reach out. Hey, great job on the race. Hey, how's it going? How's your training going? Oh, I need a coach. Well, here's this person. It's just trying to be a resource and give back and then encourage and show love. And there has been times I haven't done nothing in probably a year and a half, but like I have like created hoodies and shirts and then sold it, but every single penny gave it to like a charity like Rods or my buddy Justin when he was going across the country for a mental health awareness initiative. So I have had pockets to where I put structure to it, but it has always been for like charity reasons. Like we had a Wolfpack toy drive for Christmas. So that kind of stuff I'm cool with, but I haven't put like a more formal thing like in what I think you're asking.
Yeah, that's a fair point. I think, we do these things for the love of the sport and the community. And as soon as you start thinking more about monetization and structure, it moves from being a passion and a hobby to your profession or kind of work. And that kills the passion a little bit. I'm definitely more like that too, where it's like, yeah, I mean, there might be ways to make more money out of that, but that's not why I started in the first place. And if I want to make more money, I'll just go work at McDonald's or something. I don't know. But it's not about the money, and you don't want to sell your principle. I'm curious. So you haven't really talked about size. So how many people in the Wolfpack, approximately?
Oh, I don't even know.
Are we
it's
talking
fairly big. I don't know either. Yeah,
50,
no.
500, 5,000?
I bet it's probably. I don't know. I'd take it a guess, Hector. I'd say it's maybe between 200 and 500.
That's a lot.
Yeah, I don't know. Like I would say, that's a great question. I've never been asked that. I don't know. Like I think we did a virtual miles challenge, where it was just like, I forgot how we did it, but maybe it was like, how many miles can you run in a week or in 4 days or something along those lines. And we had prizes. And again, it was everything was given back to a charity or a cause. And I think in that we had somewhere between 85 and 100 people sign up. So I would say that, and then obviously not everybody's going to sign up. So maybe 200-300 might be a fair number of like people who like, I don't know. I don't even know how to like answer that because I just think it's just people who are just friends.
Yeah,
like
it
just
gives
a
it a
network.
scale. Sure. It gives you a
Yeah.
scale, and I think it's interesting to think. You're supporting each other in events, crewing, pacing, or these sorts of things, and you have a good basis. Like it's not like 5 friends hanging out, and it's not 5 million people that have no clue about each other, right? Like it's a good
Like for me, Brian is Wolfpack. Like anybody I interact with is Wolfpack. Like anybody who I see testing their limit, giving back, supporting others, like if that's Wolfpack to me. And so like even though maybe I don't talk to Brian every single day, he's in San Diego. Hey man, let's go run, let's go hit Torrey Pines, let's have a blast. Like to me, I would count him as Wolfpack. Like I would just count anybody who I see who comes and says hi, and I see they're giving their best effort. That's Wolfpack to me. And maybe they don't think they're Wolfpack, but like in my head, that's just the way I kind of see it. I almost see like anybody I know in the trail community, because not one person I've ever met in the trail community has been a knucklehead. Every single person I've met has been amazing, hardworking, kind, loving, supportive. And so like anybody I know that's in the community, to me, that's Wolfpack. Whether they realize it or not, they're Wolfpack to me. So maybe that's how I can best answer it. I don't know how many people that would be.
That's cool. We appreciate all you're doing for the community and giving back. And never want to make it a job, but gosh, the possibilities could be like endless if you really if you put something behind it. But again, yeah, you're kind of drawing that line. Is it work or is it not? Sure.
an idea that was pitched to me was, and this almost got me. It was like, okay, what if we create a website and like this like hub, you talk about this hub, this structure, and then you have like join the Wolfpack, and you have it across all of these cities across the country. And the goal of the Wolfpack and that community would be like, okay, now you have your Miami Wolfpack or your Boulder Wolfpack, and that community meets up. Their like core principles is give back, support one another. So now they have like support crew, all that kind of thing. And then in that, maybe there's like different causes that they can try to raise awareness for and give back. So it was like, hey, Hector, what if you take like what you're doing, test limits, give back, support others, and then try to scale it to where now you have all of these join the Wolfpacks, all of these Wolfpacks across the country, and everybody's got their local initiative, and everybody's like doing something to give back to the community. And so then I was like, oh, that's really cool. But still, then it was still like work to set it up and then to market it and all of that, to where I decided against it. But it was a cool idea. And so I get what you're saying. And maybe one day I changed my mind to it. But I had heard different things like that, to where I was like, okay, that's really cool to like do the give back times 100x in a way like that.
Yeah. You know, you're comfortable with where it's at currently at, and it's producing results on a scale that you're comfortable with, and it's a hobby and it's fun and you're enjoying it. So I don't think there's a need to change it at the moment. So
right, I agree. No plans anytime soon, but it was a fun idea to think about.
Hector, I wanted to talk a little bit about Cocodona. So Simon and I are both toeing the line for our first time at Cocodona. Can you tell us a little bit about your experience? I think you've paced there before too, prior to this to the 2023 season, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah, I paced Mike McKnight. Was it the first year? Yeah, the first year, and I've seen him get really wrecked, so that was really cool and fun. So he really took himself to another level. So then the next year, if I'm not mistaken, then I was like, okay, I want to do this one myself. And I think it's a great race. I think it's great people. It's been my Achilles heel because I do have I've had foot pain, and the terrain in Arizona is so much more painful on your feet than California trails, for example. So, or Moab or Bigfoot or some of these other places, to where for me, it's not like, for me personally, it wasn't the distance or the climbing that killed me. It's just like the rubble and the rocks just like constantly on my feet, when my feet already, I feel, are not the best, to just have it just constantly stabbing my feet. So I'm hoping with what I'm doing this year and coming with a lot stronger feet will help me get through that. So yeah, I'll be back. I DNF'd it last year and the year before, so I'm hoping that I get the buckle at the end of this one, because it's one of the last 200s that I don't have, so hopefully I get it.
Yeah, I mean, if you're pacing a guy like McKnight, that means you're a really, really fast runner. That's impressive.
No.
Have you raced
I'm not fast.
You're not? Okay.
No, but like that, so that was fun. So I ran with Mike the entire night, but what Mike is really good at is just like that 12-minute mile, just nonstop. So I was able to hang for a few hours, and then he goes, and then I get some rest. I could not do what he's doing, for sure. Not even just for a couple hours, and then, he's out.
Vaipa's race in, have you raced some of sorry. Have you raced some of our Vaipa's race in close to Phoenix, like Black Canyon or Javelina? I feel like this is the kind of race that could help your feet for something like that. I don't know the full Cocodona course, but I feel this is the same kind of small hard rock that just kind of hurt your feet.
Yeah, I have not raced those two. I have done a bunch of other Aero Viper races. Those two specifically, I have paced, and I do think those are good comparable courses to what you're going to see in Cocoa, at least for the first 150 miles or so.
Yeah. I saw I did the Sedona 125 last year, so I know the second half of the course, especially when you're like up the, I don't know, Tonto or whatever, Cocochino Forest, and it becomes a little bit more dirt road, so it's a little bit more comfortable.
That's where I need to get to. I feel like if I get there, then I got this thing in the bag. Last year I started hallucinating, and then the rocks, and it was just like it was just a mess. And so I just got to get through that section, and I think I'll have it in the bag.
What kind of hallucinations were you having?
Oh, so it was kind of a really trippy night. So I was with my buddy Justin True, who was pacing me, and it started. I think we were in Sedona. We're going, and all of a sudden we hear somebody talking and walking the opposite way. They literally pass us. And I was like so far like oblivious, I didn't think anything of it because I felt like it was the middle of the night. Like, why is this guy walking? And then I think it took Justin a second, and he goes, "Hey!" And he yelled at the guy, and he goes, where are you going? And he noticed he was a runner, and he goes, "Oh!" And the guy just started like talking nonsense. And then Justin's like, "No, turn around, come with us. It's this way." And then the guy was like, "Okay." He's like, "Get behind Hector." And so we start going. Then Justin goes, "Hey man, like, who were you pointing to and who were you talking to?" And the guy didn't have an answer. And so he was basically hallucinating himself. And so I don't know if that like triggered it in me, but then we're all three of us going. And do you know how like during like COVID and even today, all the restaurants started like having like the outdoor seating with like kind of a barricade on the street? Mm-hmm. I felt like I saw. We were going, I'm like, oh, this is a really cool aid station on top of the mountain. It has the barricade, and there's people in the middle of the night, like almost like drinking and hanging out. I'm like, oh, this is insane. Like, cool. And then Justin's like, no, like, you're tripping. And I'm like, oh, man, I thought that was like the most gnarly aid station ever. And then the other guy is still like talking to like somebody, and I had no idea, and I like didn't care because I was just like, as long as he's with us, he can talk to whoever he wants.
Sure.
And then we keep going, and then I swear I see an animal cut across, and in my head I'm like, I'm probably tripping right now, but I better tell him in case I'm not tripping this time, and so he can prepare for if like there's an animal behind the bush here to the right. And so I told him, and then he was like, bro, you need to stop, get your mind together, like it's not funny, you need to knock it off, like stop it. And like he got real serious and firm with me. And the other guy too, because the other guy was like in La La Land. So I was like, all right, like, and so I really like stayed focused on my mind, and then it subsided. But it was literally like getting that bad, and I wish we would have like found out who that guy was because he was on another level like, of what he was seeing and dealing with. So it was just a wild night for sure. The craziest night I think I've had with me and this guy and my buddy just going through Sedona in the middle of the night.
And was that it for you? Is that where you stopped once you reach the Sedona aid station?
So we hit the Sedona aid station, and my feet were just going. I think I messed up by not sleeping the first night, and so I think my mind really started getting because that might have been the second time I've ever hallucinated. Normally, I'm really good not hallucinating ever, and mindful to not let that happen. But I think I started getting really sleep deprived, and plus the feet hurting to where once we hit that aid station, I slept and tried to let like everything settle, and it just, the feet were just like, so I was like, okay, I'm gonna call this one, and we'll try to come back next year.
And in 22, how far did you make it, Hector?
Both was like the one, somewhere between 145 and 149, wherever that aid station is.
The same one both years.
Both years, same issue, just the feet. Yeah, those rocks, man, they kill me.
Is there water crossing in the first half?
Correct. I think 2 years ago there was. I think last year they might have pivoted us around it, if I'm not mistaken.
In the 125, they moved the course a little bit to avoid one river crossing last year. I don't know the year before, and I don't know the first half of the course, like the first 125.
I'm watching the Aravaipa updates on YouTube, and they rerouted the first few miles to go around water. We go up a potentially dry creek bed. It should be dry unless there's some outrageous storms, within 48 hours of the start.
Yeah, I need to start doing all the logistic stuff that it takes to have a crew and plan for, like, half of it's the race, the other half is like all that kind of stuff and paying attention to the updates. So I got to get caught up and really start dialing all that in. So that is probably my plan this week, is to start buckling down all that and make sure the crew's good and all that stuff.
Yeah, I feel me and Brian need to figure that out too. I'm not even sure. I might run it solo. Otherwise, my wife might be crewing. It's just, we'll see.
Yeah.
It would
What
be
I've seen,
simpler to
it's
do it alone.
It's a better one, or not a better one, but an easier one for crew compared to some of the other ones. Like, pretty good phone signal, not too difficult to hit different aid stations, versus some of the other races that it's like really gnarly and some long drives and some, sketchy roads, dirt roads, so this one's not that, at least what I've seen. So it's pretty crew friendly.
What else do you have going on this year? Anything else after Cocodona? You have some other plans in the works? Some challenges you challenge yourself to? What kind of year are you looking to have this year?
So I didn't want to plan anything yet until Cocodona, until I finish that and see how I hold up and the body holds up before having anything set. I think if or when I get that buckle, I think my best guess will be, again, one of my best friends is Justin True, who's done some gnarly things. My guess would be after that, he and I will plan some kind of gnarly thing, like run across some gnarly desert or run across some country or just something like that. I think kind of will be the next thing that will really appeal to me, just like figuring out something probably like in another country and just run across it. Oh, we talked about, this is kind of stealing somebody's idea, but like something along the lines, like I know somebody who was thinking about doing the Baja 1000, but running it. So not saying we're going to do that, but something like that I think would be really cool. Just kind of figuring out like a really cool country or something and hit some big days getting across it. So I think something like that is what's going to interest me next.
Nice. Some self-created challenges, maybe not the racing scene. And I think those are great because you can pick your own window, and the logistics might be a little bit easier because you can put it on the calendar whenever it works best. Yeah, those are great ideas.
Yeah, and then I kind of will keep my eye like on what other feedback and stuff. Like I like 200s and up for some probably sick reason. So I know like there's one in Canada. I think there's one in Oregon that popped up. So if it will be either like picking just random ones of those, or like what I just said, maybe some kind of just gnarly cross country or just some really cool challenge like that we just do on our own.
The line between 200 and fast packing is not, it's kind of blurry at some point, especially some of the longer race. There's some challenge that one can do by themselves. I mean, for myself, I think the logistic is actually the reason I prefer racing, just to know that there's an aid station and there will be some food and someone waiting for me. But fast packing can be pretty cool. Have you considered doing some of the longer race in Europe?
I would love to. Yeah. Yeah, I've been going to Europe. I've probably been 2 or 3 times twice this year, and I'm going back next week, and I'm loving it over there. So 100% like want to explore more Europe and other countries and kind of get into those trails. And I also am up for what Candace has planned, I think, for next year. So that would also probably be my big next year goal, assuming I get through Coco, would be the Monster. Yeah, I think that would be my 2025 goal, would be that one, would be the big one. And then anything else would be kind of, my smaller challenges, trying to work towards that one.
No, that's pretty cool. We're talking with, who were we talking to, Brian, that said the toughest one was Dragonback or Spine. I'm mixing them up.
Ben Light?
No, we were talking to
Ben Light.
We were talking to Kevin Hatfield.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. Because he told me the same thing. I think it's in England, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and Kevin is someone who he did Tour des Géants twice, right? Which is considered one of the toughest races out there.
No?
Yeah, 3 times maybe. Yeah, I might be mixing it up, but more than once, which is pretty hardcore. And still, he was saying the dragon back was spine back. I'm mixing. There's 2 of them, but one of them he said was really tough. The other one I think is a stage race.
Yeah, I know I've heard the same. That sounds rad too, by the way. See, that attracts me for some reason. I don't know. Like we'll see what happens. But yeah, those international ones get me a little bit more excited.
Yeah, the 200. It's interesting. The 200 space is just exploding now, and of course, the next level is obviously the Monster 300. That's tentatively scheduled for April of 25. But the 200 space, if you go to Ultra Sign Up and you put it in 200 miles events, there's just a ton that are out there now. And gosh, I don't even know the names of some of them. They're filling quicker than I can keep up with.
It was only a matter of time. And then it was only a matter of time for Candice to take it to the next level. So I'm excited she did that, and I'm excited to hopefully toe the line on that one next year.
Do you know how long they give for a runner to do that? Is it a week still, or it's more than that, like 10 days?
I thought roughly it was 125 hours. Or is that Cocodona that I'm thinking of?
That's Coco.
Yeah.
She has, I think she put some tentative like stats like that, like the hours and the elevation, but I'm sure it could all adjust as that thing gets fine tuned. But yeah, I don't remember off the top of my head, but 125 I think is Coco.
Yeah. Well, thanks so much, Hector. We appreciate your time. Thanks for stopping in and visiting with us. We just got two little more sections coming up that we wanted to touch on real quick, and we'd love your help on the Coach's Corner. But first, I wanted to give some altitude endurance athletes some shout-outs, some kudos, celebrating some kudos. So John W. just PR'd at the New York City Half Marathon, and he just missed beating his 19-year-old son by just a few minutes. They were really duking it out between father and son, which is always awesome to celebrate. And the 19-year-old got the better of the father of 50-plus years. And but John was really excited, got a PR. Tamika B, she's been serving overseas and's been getting the workouts in when she's not traveling and when training permits. Thanks for your service, Tamika. We really appreciate it. Kathy and her son Morgan are recovering from the Mountain to Seas 50K and 100 miler respectively. That's a mother and a son, and they did the 50K and 100 miler. Congrats to both of you as well.
Congrats, that was cool.
Yeah, thanks for sharing. And next segment, we're going to do the Coach's Corner. So for new viewers, if you have any question that you would like Coach Brian, who's an actual running coach, to answer live, send us some questions and comments below, and we'll address them in a future episode. So we have 2 interesting questions today. And Hector, feel free to chime in. Obviously, we'd love to have your perspective on that. So the first question comes from Facebook user. Okay, so anonymous question. But thank you for your question, Facebook user. So why can more experienced ultra runner carry so much less hydration and nutrition between aid stations? Is it purely speed or also related to an ability to go further with less replenishment? Brian, what's your take on that?
I don't know if experience dictates how much you carry or not. I'm thinking maybe the question from Facebook user is more geared towards the front of the pack is my assumption, and maybe they're questioning why their pack seems smaller than the back of the pack. And I do think it's a matter of moving over distance at a quicker rate, so you'll need less gear between those aid stations. Maybe they have a really solid crew and you don't. So I know when I've soloed events, I have to carry more because I'm just kind of stuck on my own and using the aid station. So I'm carrying everything. And I've seen some of the quick guys go out. They're using the aid stations and their crew is able to leapfrog gear as well. Those are my assumptions. I don't know what else you got, Hector. Anything else you could add to that?
No, I think that's it. I think the front pack, you'll see them with a lot less because they're moving so fast, where the middle and the back of the pack, you could be out there 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12 hours. So you're definitely going to carry a lot more. So I think it's probably a speed thing. I do think there's people who train purposely fasted, or, like with little hydration to just kind of mimic in case that happens in races. But I think it's more of a speed thing in general.
I could relate it to my experiences here in the mountains in the 14ers in Colorado. I travel light and, I don't know, I'm going to use air quotes, fast. But I believe it's a speed issue. I hope that answers your question, Facebook user. Thanks for the question.
Yeah, I will actually add something to that. I think it's you see it mostly with elite runner that they will not even carry a running vest and they just have like their little bottle. I think part of it is also just understanding exactly what you need. Understanding that to go to that aid station in 7 Mile, I just need one bottle. Whereas someone who doesn't have the experience, you tend to bring too much because we're always scared to run out of food, run out of water. And if you compare the consequence of carrying one extra bottle and, hey, you didn't use it, it doesn't matter if you're not trying to win. But if you carry too little and you're thirsty for an hour or 2 hours in the sun in the middle of the day, that could kill your race. So if you want to err on the safe side, you just carry more and maybe you won't use it. But once you understand yourself, you can kind of trim it down a little bit, which is definitely what I do. And I want to do a fast race at places like Javelina. I'll try to carry almost nothing, and I know exactly like I'll get there as long as I don't miss a turn. But if I miss one, then I'm screwed.
That's a great point. I think that's spot on.
All right. So, well, thank you, Facebook user, for your question. Next question comes from Emily. So Emily is asking, and thank you for your question, Emily. How do you prepare for an ultra that begins with an immediate steep climb? Additionally, how do you train for an ultra with very long, steep climbs later in the race, like let's say a 50 mile or at 50 mile or longer?
Emily, thanks for the question. I believe that the training's the same. I think we, for myself and for my athletes, I put events out on the calendar and we kind of shoot for them. But as we're shooting for them in a general sense and just getting fitness, we're also looking at the course profile and training some of the specifics on the weekend. So our long run may mimic the course profile, which might have a steep climb in the first few miles or in the finishing few miles, right? I think those are the two scenarios. But I also want you to think of it, Emily, in the fact I use this analogy quite a bit. Is that I always envision having a matchbook, and every time you burn a match, you want to wind up with 1 or 2 matches left at the finish line, and every time you expend some energy, you're burning the match. So do you fly up that first climb and hold on and burn 10 of your 20 matches, or do you just burn 1 or 2, maybe 3 matches on that first climb just to get up over it? Like we're going to experience at Cocodona, and hold on to the rest of those matches for the remainder of the event, and vice versa. The same way for the finishing climb is to regulate within reason your effort and your pace as best as possible, like on the terrain that you're at, with saving some of those matches for that final climb, so you have something left to give in that final stretch, whatever it might be, whatever that climb might be. What else do you guys think?
So I can relate more to obviously the 200s because that's more where where I have more experience, and in those where I see if there's a climb like Cocodona has a pretty gnarly first day, for me it would just be taking it really easy, or almost going go slow, and whatever you think that is, go slower than that, because I don't think I've ever been in a 200 where I don't see people just go out way too hard and then they are suffering and they are annihilated, or they're even DNFing. So definitely trying to pace yourself properly, and always kind of starting off a little, for the long races, starting off a little slower than you would think, and then maybe pick it up a little later. I've had success doing it that way.
Simon,
I
anything?
couldn't agree more. Yeah, I couldn't agree more with both of you. It's not about the training. The training will be the same, but it's about how you pace it. And it's tough. Like even myself, I get excited at the beginning, and it's the more common scenario is to have a big climb at the beginning. You know, most mountain race you start at the bottom in the valley, and then you climb something pretty steep, like a place like Wasatch, Bear, and Mongolian. They all have pretty steep climb from the start. But the trick that I do myself, and it's easier when you're filming for a movie, is that I make sure that I let a lot of people go ahead of me, and because it's a single track, usually you won't really have the choice to go fast. You'll be stuck behind people that are pacing smarter than you. And sure, you would want to go and pass them. It's just not possible. And then it's frustrating for 5-10 minutes, but later you realize that was probably the smartest thing you could do.
Yeah.
Of course, if you want to win the race, that's a different thing, but...
Agreed. Yes, agreed with that last part.
But that's not for me, so...
Yeah, definitely not me either.
Emily, just to Simon's last point there, I do just want to add just a little tidbit that I'm thinking of a race like particularly like Leadville, right? Where it's pretty flat, fast for the first 40 miles relative to Leadville itself. Obviously, it's at 10,000 feet. But as much as you want to slow down and keep everything at a lowered effort, you also want to be mindful of where those cutoffs might hit and be sure that you're hitting the minimum goal at best and not miss a cutoff because you're taking it too easy. So just keep that in mind as well, Emily. Well, thanks for the question, guys. We appreciate you tuning in. Please share, please like on all your social media platforms. Speaking of social media platforms, where can we find you, Hector? Where are you located at?
HRod619. IG only.
Instagram, HRod619. Awesome.
Instagram.
Well, we appreciate your times, Hector, and thanks for stopping in and chatting with us. We'll see you in, I don't know, I think it's 5 weeks, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah, let's hang out. We'll have a blast.
Yeah, it was great meeting you. Hopefully a bunch of new Wolfpack member will join the IG only, because that's what you do.
Yep, let's do it. They're all welcome.
All right.
Take care.